I'm going to go over day 3's warm-up for the January 2017 Strength and Conditioning Program. For this warm-up, you're going to go through it 2 times, and you just rest as needed in between each of these exercises. And it's a circuit, so go from one exercise to the next. I'm going to start with some squats, and you can do any kind of squat you want, but I'm going to do a PVC squat. And so what I'm going to do here is, for more information on squatting technique and all the cues, look at my other videos. But I'm just going to go for it now. Push the butt back. Make sure your knees are tracking outside of your feet. And I'm going to go to the bottom and hold for 15 seconds. You don't want to just let your hips die when you're at the bottom. You actually want to stay active. Imagine that you have a lot of weight on here, and if you just die down here and don't stay active, you're going to get stuck out of the bottom. So 15-second hold. Second one, I'm going to do an overhead press, and you can use dumbbells or anything you've got for this, but I'm going to use the PVC pipe. So with the PVC pipe, I want to rotate my shoulders forward a little bit, try to get the bar so it's sitting on my shoulders to start. And this is, especially if you're going to do barbell strength for the, use a barbell for the strength part of this workout, try to get yourself in a good stretch so you can be in a good rack position. And then from there, I'm just going to press up. But from here, this overhead press position, try to keep your shoulders packed down, so I'm not shrugging up, I'm packing down, and extending your elbows. Hold for 15 seconds at the top. Also think about squeezing your legs, abs tight. You don't want to arch your back when you press overhead, so keep your butt flexed and your abs tight. Good, just hold that position and then come down. Next, I'm going to do some good mornings. You can do them just with the bar on your back like this, but even better if you do it this way, where you're going to have the bar behind your back and you're going to stay in contact with your tailbone, shoulder blades, and your head. You could have actually done the squats this way too. This makes you keep proper spinal alignment. So as I go down, make sure I don't want to lose my hip. Keep it on your hip, so you have to sort of arch your back a little bit, and then hold this good morning position for 2 seconds, and then come up and do 8 reps. Notice how this is different than the squat. You notice in the squat I had a lot more knee bend. Here I'm mostly focusing on a hip hinging motion. This is a deadlift, more of a deadlift motion. We'll do one more. Good. Rotator cuff movements I'll do next. There's 4 of them, and I'm going to do 6 repetitions at each. The first one is basically a reverse fly. And for most of these, I'm going to have that same sort of hip hinge motion, hip hinge position that I'm going to hold. So the reverse fly, keep your shoulder blades retracted the whole time as you open up to the side. The second one, I call it a skier row. You're going to keep your elbows straight and then squeeze your shoulder blades to lift the weights, rotate the weights along your side. Do 6 of those. The third one, I'm going to go into a row position, so I pull the weights up to my side, and then from there, I keep my elbow fixed in space, rotate about the shoulder, and I'm creating this external rotation motion. And then the last one of the rotator cuff series exercises is, we'll call them Ys. I end up in a Y position. This one I'm going a little bit more overhead, as you can see from this angle. This one's definitely the most difficult. Good, 6 each. Jump rope next. Just going to do a 30-second jump rope period. Find a good height. This is actually a little too high for me because it's coming past my chest, but it's pretty close. And then just try to keep your feet together, keep your chest open, And I'm thinking about springing from the knees along the balls of my feet. I can make this a double under if I wanted to. I can do running style, whatever you like there, but it's 30 seconds of work. And then the last one is going to be a side plank. Coming down to the ground, extend your body out straight, hips extended, head back, chest forward. You can stack your feet like I have them. I don't know if you can see me, but I'm stacking my feet. Take a little resistance off it by switching your feet here. Now I'll switch sides. To make it a little more advanced, I'll lift my top leg. Still, I'm trying to remain totally straight with my spine. Okay, and that will be the end of the warm-up. You do it one more time. This is the strength portion of the January Strength and Conditioning Program, Day 1. We're going to begin with some squats. Back squats are what I'm focusing on with my people right now, but it can be any kind of squat you want. So, for more details on squatting mechanics, you can refer to my other videos. But I'm going to go over things briefly. I got it on the rack. Get underneath it. And you're going to walk out 3 steps. I'm going to face you just so you can see the side angle because that's the most important. So I always warm up with just the bar or a very light weight. I have a 45-pound bar. You can even start with warming up with a 15-pound bar or a dowel. Okay? And I'm going to hit 5 repetitions for the warm-up sets. I'll hit them right now. Go nice and slow down into it. Focus on your postural cues. Pulling your shoulders down, hips back, torso angle, firing out of the bottom. Walk it in. Rest as needed in between sets. For your warm-up sets, you don't need to rest that long. You can just rest 10, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, just the time it takes for me to put more weight on the bar. Have an idea of what you're going to want to hit for your first working set. And your first working set is going to be your heaviest set. So for me today, I don't know, maybe I'll just go for 225. So I want to try to get to 225 in maybe 2 or 3 warm-up sets. If your max is a little bit lower than that, you may only need to take 1 or 2 warm-up sets to get to that heaviest weight. So this is a balancing act. You have to strategize your warm-up. You don't want to be doing too many warm-up sets because you'll be exhausted by the time you reach your max weight. And you also don't want to do too big of jumps because you won't be adequately warmed up. So you have to find that balance. Hit my second set. Face sideways. Control on the way down. Power on the way out. Okay? So that was 115. I'd probably want to go to 185 next. And then I would hit 225, and that would be my first working set. The number of repetitions will change every week. You should change them every week. But the concept will remain the same where you're doing 3 working sets. The first one is the heaviest, and then you deload. You take about 5 to 10% off of that weight for your second set, and then take another 5 to 10% off for your third set. And that concept will go for all of the strength training exercises we do. So then next, we're going for some overhead presses. Now you can use the bar, but I'm going to use dumbbells today. So I'll start on the lighter end. And for our dumbbells, starting with them pointing, your palms are facing, the dumbbells are touching your shoulders. Flex your legs, abs tight. These are going to be strict presses. This is a strict overhead press. And then I'm coming through overhead. Lock it out overhead every time. Control on the way down. And this is the tempo I like to have. Pause at the top briefly, pause at the bottom briefly. Warm-up sets of 5 repetitions. Unlike your squats, you're going to be doing a lot heavier weight than you are for your overhead presses. So you probably don't need to take as many warm-up sets for your overhead press. I would probably want to, maybe I'll try the 40s, and then I would want to do like my max set, my first working set with the 50s, and go from there. So, but those 2 exercises, I want you to just focus on the squat. Just do the squat and rest in between sets. I didn't talk about that, but when you get to your heavier sets, you're going to rest at least a minute. Rest at least a minute on your working sets. For the press, the same thing. Once you're done with your overhead presses, then you're going to break into bent over rows and tricep pushdowns. And you can superset these ones, okay? So bent over rows. I'm going to use dumbbells again. You can use a barbell. Feet close together. I'm going to hinge at the hips, go into a deadlift motion. I'm going to hold this position, and then I'm going to pull up and come back down. Control at the top, control at the bottom. Just keeping your shoulder blades pinched together the whole time. And having an arm angle that's not flaring out, you're pulling it down. So I did my warm-up set of rows, and then I can come into my tricep pushdown. For this one, I've got a band overhead, and there's a bunch of different tricep exercises you can choose to do. It doesn't matter too much. The most important thing is the posture that you have. So I'm going to do, can't see me too well over there, but I want to show you what I'm doing. I'm going to be pushing the tricep, pushing the band down. The most important thing is elbows tucked, shoulder blades retracted the whole time. What tends to happen is people will fold forward, their elbows will flare out, try to keep it tucked in. You're going to really be working your abs and your upper back as well as your triceps on the pushdowns. So I'll superset those and go through the prescribed number of sets. I probably only need to take 1 warm-up set for those 2 exercises. Okay, here I'm going to go over the cardio circuit for day 3 of the January strength and conditioning program. Okay, so we got 5 exercises. I'm going to go through each one for 30 seconds, and then I'll rest either 30 seconds or a minute at the end of each round. Before you break into this circuit, do a couple repetitions of each of the movements first. Warm them up a little bit first. Okay, so we've got your mountain. You're doing high knees first. So high knees are going to be just in place, working my arms and legs in opposition. Balls of the feet are coming down. Secondly, you got mountain climbers. Mountain climber, starting with my palms down, one leg is forward, the other leg is extended back. The basic version, I can just step back and then step forward, step back and step forward. But if you're pretty good at these, you can jump, do kind of a jump switch with your feet. The third one is going to be a side shuffle. So I'm going to stay in the screen, so I'm not going to go too far, but you probably want to go a little bit further than this. I'm going to side shuffle from across the screen. And this can just be walking too. The most important thing is your body positioning on this one. You want to have your hips back, you're on the balls of your feet, your spine is straight, and you want to minimize the amount of rocking of your shoulders when you're moving. So if I'm just doing this step, I'm going to stay level as I go. The fourth one is a thruster. I'm going to do a dumbbell thruster. I'm going to squat thruster. So I'm going to squat down and then use the momentum out of the squat to press up. And get in a rhythm with it. Those are your thrusters. Fifth, I'm going to jump rope. I guess there's actually 6. There's 6 stations here, not 5. Jump rope. Get in the rhythm here. You can do double unders if you want. Any style you prefer. And then the last one, last station is a kettlebell swing. This is a hip hinge movement. Hinge at the hip. You can come all the way overhead with it if you want, or just come to eye level. But the most important thing is the posture. Keeping your spine in a neutral position the whole time while bending the hips back. Making it a hip hinge. It's not a squat. See my knees coming forward right now? I don't need to do that. Keep your knees back and open up your hips. Okay, so that was a pretty good little warm-up for me. Now I'd be ready to go for it. 30 seconds for each of those exercises and rest 30 seconds to a minute in between. Probably repeat twice, but you can repeat more than that if you're really ambitious. This is a cool down routine for day 3 of the January 17 strength and conditioning program. So I'm going to begin with a mountain climber stretch. And you can do you're just going to go through this once or twice, and you'll do about 30 seconds of work on each one. So I'm going to have one leg back far, the other leg is in close. I'm going to be stretching my back hip flexor and my front glute and hamstring. I'm going to step the foot back and switch. Hold for about 2 seconds. This is an active cool down. So I'll do about 30 seconds worth of those, mountain climbers. Next one, I'm going to do a lying crossover stretch. So I'm going to lie on my back, and I'm going to sweep my leg across the ground and then switch. I'm going to let my hips swivel from side to side while trying to keep my shoulders pretty flat on the ground here. That feels so good. Next, I'm going to do a 20-second back arch. So I'm going to really try to arch my back here. I can start just by keeping my shoulders on the ground and bridging my hips up. But if you're more advanced, and I'm not great at this, but you can bridge up from here, pressing your arms out. You can try to do that one. And you just hold that position for 20 seconds. 20 to 30 seconds. Next, I got leg swings. You can hold onto a wall to balance if you need to. And do use a wall if you're not able to stay balanced and get a full range of motion of your leg, because that's the most important part. So I'm keeping my spine straight, staying pretty upright and balanced while I'm kicking back and forth with those leg swings. Then I do them across my body and kind of swing my arms in opposition of my legs to stay balanced here. And I do about 15 seconds each leg there. Then I'll do some arm circles. And every time I rotate back, I'm going to squeeze the shoulder blades together. So you can do 15 seconds forward, and then reverse it for 15 seconds. And then the last one is going to be a heel to toe lift. So I'm going to lift my toes off the ground, then my heels. Toes, heels. I'm flexing my tibialis anterior. I'm flexing my calf. Tibialis, calf.